everybody out there in YouTube land, my apologies because it has been almost a year since I last did an update. And it's mostly just because we've been living through this pandemic like all of you have, and our world sort of has changed. But I did want to provide you with a quick update because I know a lot of you have been asking, and thanks for checking out the site. That was the entire purpose of it, was just to sort of keep other folks informed about what adoption looks like. And things are a little bit different these days, so I'll give you a picture of what our life looks like in the world of adoption. That being said, what we're dealing with is different from what others are dealing with. Each country has its own rules and challenges, and so we're each working through this in a little bit of a different way. But if you recall, our last video was about us transitioning to the China program, and that was probably like 2 weeks before COVID became a thing. Would that have changed the direction that we were going in? I don't think so. So we're really happy that we made the decision that we made. It was right for our family. And so we're still with China, but a lot has happened in a year. So I'll tell you, there's just a couple of things that were difficult for us, navigating the paperwork. The paper trail, as they call it, during a pandemic is not great. So we ended up taking probably 3 or 4 months longer to finish our home study, and that was just because we had to do it all remote. And then getting things notarized was also challenging because physicians' offices were closed. You have to get the physicians to notarize things and to do a physical checkup and blood work, and all of that stuff just got significantly delayed. Finding a person to notarize, willing to notarize. We had to hire folks who did, well, actually we got creative. We had one person do virtual notary. That was interesting. So they observed the signature on video camera, and then I had to do an exchange of paperwork in between their signatures. That took several hours to do that. And then we also had to do some traveling notaries that would go to people's houses, because, for example, getting my company to sign, we all went virtual. And so my HR person was at her home, and I had to send a notary to her personal address. And so just in general, a lot of complications. Hopefully whoever's watching this right now, but maybe we're out of the pandemic, I know things have gotten 10 times better than they were back in April and May of 2020. It just was not a good time to be doing a home study. And so that set us back a little bit. And then also sending things to the Secretary of State took a couple more months. So our entire process from beginning to end, getting our dossier logged in to China took almost a whole year. And they had told us at the beginning that it would be about 6 months. It was stressful, and I'm just very glad that it's over. And I will say, as a tip to anybody who is currently going through the paperwork process, the one thing that doesn't change is that they are very particular at the Chinese embassy with the way you get your stuff notarized. And so thankfully our agency did a pretty good job of catching things before we shipped everything off for that final review. We had almost half of our paperwork sent back to us to get re-notarized. And the big issues that they discovered were that the signatures for our notaries did not match what they had on file, so they were getting rejected. And dates that didn't match, that was an issue. And then we had one situation where they signed in the wrong parts of the document. And so if there's one piece of advice I could offer you during the home study phase, is just work closely with your agency, with your social worker, and ask a million questions. I try to be independent. I wanted to be independent in this process. And after having to redo a lot of our paperwork and the anxiety and the pain that goes along with that, if I were to do this again, I would definitely be asking a million more questions up front rather than trying to chase my tail and recover later. It just ended up taking a whole lot longer. But I'm glad they caught it before it went off to Secretary of State and to the embassy, because that would have been a lot more stressful had we found out that late in the process that things were wrong. And so the way things go, if you're just starting home study, is you get your paperwork notarized, and then you send it off to Secretary of State for whatever state is relevant to what you're doing. So for example, my company is out in Denver, so I had to get stuff notarized out in Denver for them. My birth certificates and stuff are up in Maryland, so I had to, do paperwork up there for them and have state secretary look at that paperwork. And then we had a ton of stuff for South Carolina that had to go through that Secretary of State. So you end up sending paperwork all over the place. It's just a real pain in the butt. And FedEx got to know me very well. They, every time I see them, they want to know how our adoption is doing. I think they know the pains of the paperwork probably better than anybody else. So, but what I will say is that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. You will eventually get done with it. And believe it or not, we actually just finished our renewal of our home study. Just got that back. This is a lot easier. We didn't have to have anything notarized, I think. Our social worker took care of most of the things that had to get notarized. I don't think there was anything we got notarized. Thank God for that. Like, I really don't want to even talk about ever getting things notarized again in my life. Like, I'm just past that phase of my life. But the renewal happens at a year, so we did have to do that. And it takes some time, but once you've been through the dossier process once, everything else is like smooth. It's good. So that's what I'll say for now, just our life in the pandemic. Obviously, there have been other changes. I've gotten a year older. Brad Mondo taught me how to cut my own hair. I'm now living with a shag and some curtain bangs. And so our kids are working, or they're doing virtual school, and my husband and I are both working from home. But silver lining, the pandemic has taught us to be a closer family, and so we've really sort of hunkered down, and I think we've learned a lot about each other. Even my kids, I know everything going on in their life now. I'm their teacher. I'm a full-time worker. I'm a mom. I'm getting it all done, and I'm realizing that we are all, as human beings, capable of a whole lot of stuff. You can stretch yourself far, but I am ready to get out of this, and so that's what I'll say about that. I'm going to make a second video about our adoption and where we are with that. We have some good news, but there's some challenges as well. So check out that video. I'll get that one posted next. So thank you so much for checking in and for asking about us. I think it's awesome. So, and let me know if there's anything else you want to hear. So have a good one. Thank you.